Captain Susan Wright's ship, the UES Freedom, dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a red dwarf star 40 light-years from Earth. Her mission was to find the rebel species that Dr. Lisa Park had discovered and captured Dominion communications. What she found exceeded all expectations. The Zephyrian resistance had been fighting the Dominion for 50 years. Their homeworld had been conquered, their people scattered, but they had never stopped believing they could win their freedom. When Susan made contact with their leader, a scarred warrior named Kethmore, she learned that the dead alien who had warned humanity was his brother. Kethvar died with honor, Kethmore said through the translator. He gave your people the gift of time. Now we will give you the gift of brotherhood. The Zephyrians brought more than just fighting spirit to the Alliance. They had advanced metallurgy that could make human ship hulls twice as strong. They had warrior traditions that taught soldiers to fight as one mind. Most importantly, they had networks throughout the galaxy that connected dozens of oppressed species. While Susan forged the first alien alliance in human history, Admiral Jake Morrison led the defense of human space against the Dominion's reinforcements. The new enemy fleet was massive, 500 ships from 20 different species commanded by War Marshal Thextal, a veteran of 1,000 conquests. The battle plan was different this time. Instead of meeting the enemy head-on, Jake used hit-and-run tactics. Small human fleets would attack isolated Dominion groups, destroy what they could, and disappear before reinforcements arrived. It was a strategy based on Earth's history of guerrilla warfare, adapted for space combat. Captain Ryan Clark had become an expert at these lightning raids. His squadron would appear without warning, destroy enemy supply ships, and vanish into the asteroid belt before the Dominion could react. Each attack weakened the enemy and forced them to spread their forces to protect their logistics. The key is making them afraid, Ryan explained to his pilots. Every time they see an asteroid, they have to wonder if we're hiding behind it. Every time they split their forces, we hit the weaker group. We make them paranoid. The strategy worked. War Marshal Thextal found himself fighting shadows. Human ships appeared everywhere and nowhere, striking at supply lines, communication relays, and isolated vessels. The Dominion fleet was larger and more powerful, but it was being eaten alive by 1,000 small cuts. Meanwhile, the news of humanity's resistance spread across the galaxy through hidden communication networks. Species that had accepted Dominion rule for centuries began to whisper about the humans who had said no to the greatest power in the galaxy. The Delphinians were the first to openly rebel. They were an aquatic species from a water world in the Centauri sector. Their revolt began when they heard about the Battle of Pluto. If humans could defeat Dominion ships, maybe they could too. Admiral Jake Morrison received the news while coordinating attacks from a hidden base in the asteroid belt. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "we're getting reports of uprisings on 12 worlds in the past week. The Dominion is being forced to divert ships to put down rebellions." Jake smiled for the first time since the war began. "Good. The more places they have to fight, the fewer ships they can send against Earth." The key breakthrough came when Captain Alex Turner successfully liberated the Delphinian homeworld. The aquatic aliens had biotechnology that was unlike anything humans had seen. They could grow ships instead of building them, create living computers that adapted to any situation, and develop weapons that evolved to counter enemy defenses. Dr. Lisa Park studied the Delphinian technology with amazement. "They don't just build tools," she explained to the research team. "They cultivate relationships with living systems that want to help them. It's a completely different approach to science. The combination of human adaptability, Zephyrian strength, and Delphinian biotechnology created weapons and ships that the Dominion had never encountered. More importantly, each liberated species brought their own knowledge and skills to the growing alliance. War Marshal Thextal watched his carefully planned campaign fall apart and requested permission to use the Dominion's most terrible weapon, planet killers, massive ships that could destroy entire worlds from orbit. "The humans have become a contagion," he reported to his superiors. "Their ideas of freedom and cooperation are spreading faster than we can contain them. We must end this before it reaches the core worlds." But High Command denied his request. Using planet killers would prove that the Dominion was afraid, and fear was a sign of weakness that could inspire even more rebellions. Instead, they sent him more ships, and orders to win quickly and quietly. Captain Susan Wright returned to human space with representatives from 15 different species. The meeting took place aboard the massive space station that humans had built in orbit around Jupiter. It was the largest gathering of free-thinking aliens in galactic history. "We call ourselves the Liberation Council," announced Senator Dan Brooks, humanity's chief diplomat. "We are not here to replace the Dominion with another empire. We are here to create something new, a galaxy where every species chooses its own path." The alien representatives were skeptical at first. Every species had been betrayed by false promises of equality before. But as they watched humans work alongside Zephyrian warriors and Delphinian engineers as equals, they began to believe that this time might be different. The Liberation Council's first fleet launched 2 months later. 500 ships from 22 different species, each crew mixed with members from multiple worlds. Human captains commanded Zephyrian vessels. Delphinian biotechnicians maintained human engines. Former enemies worked side by side because they shared a common dream of freedom. Admiral Jake Morrison, now Supreme Commander of Liberation Forces, led the fleet against the Dominion stronghold at Alpha Centauri. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ships that grew new weapons during combat fought alongside vessels that could phase in and out of normal space. Crews that spoke dozens of languages coordinated attacks with precision that amazed even veteran Dominion commanders. The turning point came when Colonel Janet Price led ground forces in the liberation of the prison world, Theta 7. Millions of political prisoners from across the galaxy were freed in a single day. Among them were scientists, artists, and leaders who had been imprisoned for daring to question Dominion rule. "Today we don't just win a battle," Janet told her mixed-species assault team as they prepared for the attack. "Today we prove that beings from different worlds can fight together for something bigger than themselves." The liberation of Theta 7 sent shockwaves across the galaxy. Dominion worlds began declaring independence without waiting for liberation forces to arrive. Species that had been enemies for millennia put aside their differences to fight their common oppressor. War Marshal Thexdal made his last stand at the fortress world of Kepler Prime. His remaining fleet of 200 ships faced a liberation force of over 1,000 vessels. The odds were impossible, but he had his orders. The battle lasted 3 days. When it ended, the Dominion's military power was broken. Thexdal's flagship was destroyed, and the survivors surrendered to liberation forces. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Dominion had been decisively defeated in open warfare. But Jake Morrison knew the real war was just beginning. The core worlds would never accept defeat, and they had resources that could build fleets faster than the liberation could destroy them. The final battle would have to be fought at the heart of Dominion power. As liberation ships spread across the galaxy, liberating world after world, Jake stood on the bridge of his flagship and thought about how far humanity had come. Less than a year ago, they had been alone in the universe. Now they led a coalition of free species that spanned half the galaxy. "Admiral," reported his communications officer, "we're receiving surrender requests from Dominion governors on 43 worlds. They want to join the Liberation Council." Jake nodded. The revolution had become unstoppable, but he knew the hardest part was yet to come. Winning the war was only half the battle. The real challenge would be building something better from the ashes of the Dominion's empire. 3 months after the Horizon returned to Earth, the Judgment Fleet arrived. Admiral Ben Rodriguez stood in the command center of Luna Station and watched as 200 alien warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Each ship was larger than humanity's biggest vessels, and their weapons could destroy entire cities with a single shot. President Kate Sullivan had spent those 3 months preparing for this moment. Every human world had contributed ships, weapons, and soldiers to the defense fleet. Factories worked day and night to build new vessels using the technology that Tony Blake and his team had learned from the alien ship. The dead alien, who Lisa had named Kethvar from symbols on his armor, had given humanity more than a warning. He had given them hope. The alien fleet moved slowly toward Earth, broadcasting on all frequencies. The message was simple and terrifying. People of the third planet, you will surrender now. Prepare for judgment. Kate stood in the communication room of the defense station and straightened her uniform. She had been president of the United Earth Coalition for 5 years, but nothing had prepared her for speaking to alien beings who held the power to destroy all human life. "This is President Kate Sullivan of the United Earth Coalition," she said into the transmitter. "We welcome you to our solar system and hope we can find a peaceful solution to whatever problem brings you here." The response came quickly. "I am High Arbiter Vex Thule of the Galactic Dominion. Your species has developed space travel and radio communications without permission. You have violated the ancient laws that keep order in this galaxy. Submit to Dominion rule or face extinction." Kate felt her blood grow cold, but she kept her voice steady. "We were not aware of any laws. We are willing to discuss terms." "There are no terms," Vexthul replied. "Submit or die. You have 1 hour to decide." Admiral Rodriguez activated his communicator. "All ships, battle stations. This doesn't look like it's going to end peacefully." Humanity's defense fleet consisted of 150 ships. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing technology they barely understood, but they were fighting for their home, their families, and their right to exist as free people. Dr. Lisa Park was aboard the flagship UES Liberty, studying the alien transmissions and trying to learn more about their enemies. What she discovered gave her hope. The alien fleet contained ships from 12 different species, all working together under Dominion command. But when she listened carefully to their communications, she noticed something important. "Admiral," she called Rodriguez on the communicator. "They're using translation devices to talk to each other. These species don't naturally work together like humans do. They're forced together by the Dominion." Rodriguez understood immediately. An alliance based on fear was weaker than an alliance based on trust. "Good work, Lisa. Keep listening." Meanwhile, Tony Blake was aboard the engineering ship UES Forge, making final preparations to humanity's secret weapon. Using Kethvar's technology, they had built new ships that were faster and more maneuverable than anything the aliens had seen before. The hybrid human-alien technology gave them advantages the Dominion didn't know about. The hour passed quickly. When no surrender came from Earth, High Arbiter Vexthul gave his response. "So be it. We will demonstrate the price of defiance." The Dominion fleet opened fire on Mars' largest colony. The orbital bombardment turned New Shanghai into a crater of melted glass and twisted metal in less than 5 minutes. 50,000 humans died in seconds, their final messages of love and fear broadcasting across the solar system before the communications went silent. Kate Sullivan watched the destruction from Luna Station and felt rage like she had never known. These aliens had come to their home and murdered innocent people without even trying to understand humanity. They saw humans as nothing more than insects to be stepped on. "Admiral Rodriguez," she said, her voice hard as steel. "You are authorized to engage the enemy. Show them what humans do when someone threatens our family." The battle began when Captain Ryan Clark, now piloting one of the new hybrid fighters, led a surprise attack on the Dominion's right flank. His squadron of 20 ships moved faster than the aliens expected, striking like lightning and disappearing. Before the enemy could respond, the aliens were shocked. Their intelligence had told them that human ships were slow and primitive. These new vessels moved like dancers, appearing and disappearing, striking weak points with perfect accuracy. Admiral Rodriguez led the main fleet in a frontal assault, while smaller groups attacked from different angles. The battle tactic was called swarming, and it was something humans had learned from studying bees and wolves. Instead of fighting like the aliens expected, in neat formations and predictable patterns, the humans fought like a pack of wild animals protecting their territory. Captain Susan Wright commanded the stealth ship UES Shadow, which had been modified with alien cloaking technology. She led her crew deep into the enemy formation, gathering intelligence and striking at command ships when they least expected it. The aliens fought back with overwhelming firepower, destroying dozens of human ships. But for every human vessel they destroyed, they lost 2 of their own. The humans were learning and adapting faster than the Dominion had thought possible. High Arbiter Vex Thule watched the battle from his command ship and felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries. Uncertainty. These humans were supposed to be a primitive species that would surrender after the first show of force. Instead, they were fighting with a courage and skill that impressed even his veteran commanders. "Sir," one of his officers reported, "we're losing ships faster than projected. These humans are not fighting like any species we've encountered before." Vexthul studied the tactical display. The humans were using combined arms tactics, coordinating between different types of ships in ways that maximized their effectiveness. More importantly, when human ships were damaged, other vessels immediately moved to protect them. They fought not just as individuals but as a united force where every life mattered. "Interesting," Vexthul said. "Perhaps we underestimated this species. Very well. Fall back to the outer system. We will regroup and study their tactics." As the Dominion fleet withdrew, cheers erupted across the human defense force. They had not won the war, but they had won the first battle. More importantly, they had proven that the Galactic Dominion could be defeated. Admiral Rodriguez opened a channel to all human ships. "Outstanding work, everyone. But this is just the beginning. They'll be back with reinforcements and new tactics. We need to be ready." Dr. Lisa Park had been recording everything during the battle. She had noticed something that gave her hope. When the Dominion ships were damaged, the different alien species aboard them had trouble working together to make repairs. Humans naturally helped each other in crisis situations, but these aliens seemed to follow strict hierarchies that slowed them down. President Sullivan addressed the solar system that night. Her words were broadcast to every human world: space, station, and ship. "Today we faced an enemy that wanted to enslave or destroy us simply because we dared to reach for the stars," she said. "They killed 50,000 of our people to make a point. But what they discovered instead is that humans don't break when you hit us. We get stronger, we get angrier, and we get more determined to protect the people we love." She paused and looked directly into the camera. "The Galactic Dominion made one mistake. They assumed we would fight like every other species they've conquered. They assumed we would put our own survival above everything else. What they don't understand is that humans have something they've forgotten. We have each other. Across human space, people watched their president and felt something powerful growing in their hearts. Not just anger at the attack on Mars, but determination to prove that humanity deserved its place among the stars. The Judgment Fleet had come to destroy or enslave humanity. Instead, they had awakened something that would change the galaxy forever. Humans had tasted their first victory against impossible odds, and they wanted more. The destruction of New Shanghai changed everything. In the weeks that followed, humans across 17 worlds stopped thinking of themselves as citizens of different planets. They became one people with one enemy and one purpose. Factory workers on Europa worked 20-hour shifts building weapons. Farmers on New Australia sent every spare resource to the war effort. Children on Earth made bandages and wrote letters to soldiers they had never met. Admiral Jake Morrison, promoted after his discovery of the alien ship, stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance and studied the tactical display. The Dominion fleet had pulled back to the outer edge of the solar system, but they weren't leaving. Long-range sensors showed they were building something large near Pluto. Whatever it was, humanity needed more time to prepare. "Ryan, take your squadron and probe their defenses," Jake ordered Captain Clark. "Don't engage unless you have to. I want to know what they're building out there." Ryan Clark had become humanity's best pilot during the first battle. His modified fighter could outrun anything the Dominion had, and his squadron had destroyed more enemy ships than any other unit. "Copy that, Admiral. We'll be ghosts." While Ryan's fighters scouted the enemy, Commander Lisa Park worked with teams of scientists studying captured alien technology. They had managed to salvage pieces from destroyed Dominion ships, and what they learned amazed them. The aliens had powerful weapons and strong shields, but their technology was old. Some of the designs hadn't changed in thousands of years. "They're not innovators," Lisa explained to the military leadership during a briefing. Each species in the Dominion develops technology in isolation, and then it's shared through rigid bureaucratic channels. Humans adapt and improve technology much faster because we work together as equals. Tony Blake had been working with Lisa's team to create new weapons and ships. The breakthrough came when they successfully combined technology from 6 different alien species with human engineering. The result was a new class of warship that was faster, stronger, and more versatile than anything in the galaxy. We call it the Unity class, Tony explained to Admiral Rodriguez. It's got Zephyrian hull armor, Corian energy weapons, human engines, and completely integrated systems. A single Unity ship can match 3 Dominion vessels. The first batch of Unity ships rolled out of the shipyards just as Ryan Clark returned with disturbing news. Admiral, they're building a massive weapons platform out there. It's the size of a small moon and it's pointed directly at Earth. Jake knew they couldn't wait for the aliens to finish their superweapon. How long until the platform is operational? Maybe 2 weeks, Ryan replied. After that, they could destroy Earth from Pluto's orbit. Admiral Rodriguez made the decision to attack before the weapon was ready. All ships prepare for Operation Lightning Strike. We're going to hit them with everything we have. The plan was simple but dangerous. Humanity's entire fleet would attack. The Dominion force, while it was divided between defending the weapon platform and protecting their main ships. Captain Susan Wright and her stealth ships would infiltrate the platform and try to sabotage it from within. The battle began at dawn. On Mars time, 200 human ships, including 50 of the new Unity-class vessels, charged toward the enemy fleet at maximum speed. The Dominion commanders were caught off guard by the aggressive attack. They had expected the humans to defend Earth, not bring the fight to them. The space around Pluto became a deadly dance of energy beams and missile trails. Human ships moved in coordinated groups, covering each other and striking at weak points. The new Unity vessels proved their worth, punching through enemy lines like bullets through paper. Captain Nicole Torres led a squadron of assault ships against the weapon platform's defenses. Her job was to clear a path for Susan Wright's stealth team. The platform was protected by dozens of automated gun turrets and a powerful energy shield. "This is Torres to all units," she broadcasted as her ships dove toward the massive structure. "Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for the right of every thinking being to choose their own destiny." The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships were destroyed, good people died, but the fleet kept pushing forward. The Dominion forces fought with discipline and superior firepower. But they couldn't match human determination and creativity. The turning point came when Susan Wright's team successfully infiltrated the weapon platform. Using explosives and computer viruses, they turned the massive weapon against the Dominion's own ships. The platform's first shot destroyed a Dominion command vessel, sending shockwaves through the alien fleet. High Arbiter Vexthol watched his carefully planned attack crumble and felt something he hadn't experienced in millennia. Respect for an enemy. "These humans fight like the old stories say our ancestors once did," he told his officers. "With passion and unity we have forgotten." "Sir, should we retreat?" asked his tactical officer. Thul considered the question. The Dominion had rules about engaging primitive species. Quick subjugation or destruction was preferred to avoid exactly this kind of prolonged conflict. But humans had proven they were not primitive, and retreat would send the wrong message to other species under Dominion control. "No," he decided. "Send a message to the core worlds. Tell them we need reinforcements. These humans are more dangerous than we thought." The battle ended with a tactical victory for humanity. The weapon platform was destroyed, and the Dominion fleet had lost 40 ships compared to 30 human vessels. But Jake Morrison knew this was just the beginning. The real Dominion fleet would come next, and it would be much larger. Dr. Lisa Park made a discovery that changed everything during the battle's aftermath. While studying communications captured from destroyed alien ships, she found references to other species that had rebelled against the Dominion. Most had been crushed quickly, but some were still fighting in distant parts of the galaxy. "Admiral," she reported to Jake, "we're not alone in this fight. There are other species out there who hate the Dominion as much as we do." Jake studied the intelligence reports. If humans could contact these rebel groups, they might have allies in the coming war. Susan, I have a new mission for you. Take your fastest ship and find these rebels. If we're going to survive what's coming, we'll need friends. Captain Wright nodded. I'll find them, sir, and when I do, I'll tell them that humanity stands with anyone who fights for freedom. As Susan's ship prepared to leave the solar system, Jake looked out at the stars and thought about the dead alien Kethvar who had started this whole chain of events. The alien had warned humanity about the Dominion, but he had also given them something more valuable. He had shown them they were not alone in wanting freedom across human space. Factories worked faster than ever before. New ships slid down construction, ramps every day, each one better than the last. Soldiers trained for battles they hoped would never come. Scientists pushed the boundaries of known physics to create weapons that could stop a galactic empire. But most importantly, humans began to realize that their greatest strength was not their technology or their courage. It was their ability to inspire others to dream of something better than the status quo. The Dominion ruled through fear and rigid control. Humans offered partnership and hope. High Arbiter Vexthal's message reached the core worlds 3 days after the Battle of Pluto. The response was swift and decisive. A war fleet of 500 ships from 20 different species was dispatched to the Sol system, with orders to end the human problem permanently. But by the time that fleet arrived, they would find that the human problem had grown beyond anything the Dominion had imagined. Humanity had learned that they were part of something larger than themselves. They were part of a galaxy full of thinking beings who deserved the chance to choose their own path among the stars. The resistance had begun, and it would spread faster than the Dominion could contain it. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES horizon and watched the stars through the main window. The year was 2387, and humanity had finally done something they had never done before in all their long history. They had united as one people. No more wars between countries, no more fighting over land or resources. The United Earth Coalition now ruled all human worlds, from Earth itself to the 17 colony planets that humans called home. Jake had been exploring space for 15 years. He had seen gas giants with rings of ice, dead planets covered in ancient cities and nebulae that glowed like paintings in the dark. But he had never seen what every human dreamed of finding: life from another world. Intelligent life that could talk and think and build ships like humans did. The Horizon was humanity's best exploration ship. It had engines that could travel faster than light, sensors that could detect a coin from 1,000,000 miles away, and weapons that could cut through solid rock. More importantly, it had a crew of 200 of Earth's best people, scientists, soldiers, engineers, and explorers who had volunteered to spend years in deep space looking for answers to the biggest question humans had ever asked. Are we alone? Commander Lisa Park stood next to Jake and studied the readings on her screen. She was the ship's xenobiologist, which meant she studied alien life. So far, she had only studied the possibility of alien life because they had never found any. She was 32 years old, had 3 degrees, and spoke 7 languages. If humanity ever met aliens, she would be the one to figure out how to talk to them. Captain, we're getting something strange on the sensors, Lisa said. Her voice was calm, but Jake could hear the excitement underneath. It's metallic, about 2 kilometers long, and it's not moving. Jake looked at the sensor display. They were at the edge of human space, farther from Earth than any human had ever traveled. Out here they should find nothing but empty space and distant stars. But the sensors showed something that looked like a ship. Could it be a human ship? Jake asked, though he knew the answer. No human ship had ever come this far. No, sir, said Lieutenant Ryan Clark from the pilot station. The design is completely different from anything we've ever built. The metal composition is unknown. Captain, I think we found them. Jake felt his heart beat faster. First contact. The moment that would change humanity forever. He had trained for the situation, but now that it was happening, he realized that no amount of training could prepare someone for this moment. All stop, Jake ordered. Lisa, get your team ready. Ryan, move us closer, but keep our distance. If this is a trap, I want to be able to get out fast. The horizon moved slowly toward the unknown ship. As they got closer, the details became clear. The ship was damaged. Parts of its hull were torn open, and it was leaking some kind of gas into space. Scorch marks covered its surface, and several sections looked like they had been hit by powerful weapons. "It's been in a fight," said Tony Blake, the chief engineer, "and from the looks of it, they lost." "Life signs?" Lisa asked. The sensors operator checked his readings. "One, very weak. Captain, whatever is on that ship is dying." Jake made his decision. "Prepare a boarding team. Lisa, you're with me. Tony, I want you to look at their technology. Security team, full weapons, but do not fire unless I give the order. We don't know what we're dealing with." 20 minutes later, Jake and his team were aboard the alien ship. The corridors were too tall for humans and filled with a strange blue light. The air was breathable, but it smelled like copper and ozone. Their footsteps echoed in the empty halls as they followed Lisa's readings toward the single life sign dot. They found the alien in what looked like a command center. It was tall, maybe 8 feet, with gray skin and 4 arms. It wore some kind of armor that was cracked and leaking a green fluid. Its eyes were large and silver, and when it saw the humans, it tried to reach for a weapon. "Wait," Lisa said, holding up her hands. "We're here to help." The alien stopped and stared at them. It said something in a language that sounded like music mixed with static. Lisa activated her translation device, but it couldn't understand the words. Lisa tried again, this time using pictures on her tablet. She showed the alien a picture of a human helping another human. Then she showed a picture of medical supplies. The alien watched and seemed to understand. It spoke again, and this time the translator caught a few words. "Danger," it said. "Coming. Your world. Run." "What danger?" Lisa asked, but the alien was getting weaker. With great effort, the alien touched a panel on the wall. A holographic display appeared showing a map of the galaxy. Thousands of stars were marked in red, and at the center was a massive structure that looked like a space station the size of a moon. The alien pointed at the red stars and said one word that the translator understood perfectly: Dominion. Then, it pointed at a small yellow star at the edge of the map. Jake realized he was looking at the sun, Earth's star. The alien had found their home. "Judgment Fleet," the alien whispered. "Coming for your species. You are new. You are unknown. You are threat." "What Judgment Fleet?" Jake asked, but the alien was dying. With its last breath, the alien pressed something into Lisa's hand. It was a small device covered in symbols they couldn't read. "Warning," it said. "Unite your people. Fight together, or die alone." The alien went still. In the silence that followed, Jake looked around at his team. They had come out here looking for life, and they had found death. They had also found something much worse. They had found out that humans were not alone in the universe, and whoever else was out there saw them as enemies. "Captain," Tony said, quietly, "we need to study this ship. The technology is hundreds of years ahead of anything we have." Jake nodded. "Do it fast. We need to get back to Earth. If that alien was telling the truth, we don't have much time." As the horizon began its journey home with the alien ship in tow, Jake stood on the bridge and watched the stars. Somewhere out there, a judgment fleet was coming to decide humanity's fate. Humans had finally united, but now they would need that unity more than ever. The universe was much bigger and more dangerous than they had ever imagined, and humanity's survival would depend on whether they could stand together when the real test came. The Liberation Fleet gathered at the edge of the Nexus system, home to the Dominion's capital world and the seat of galactic power for 10,000 years. Admiral Jake Morrison stood before a holographic display showing the most heavily defended system in the galaxy. Nexus Prime was surrounded by defense stations, each one the size of a city. 3,000 Dominion warships protected the homeworld of the Empire that had ruled countless species for millennia. "This is it," Jake said to his command staff. "Everything we've fought for comes down to this battle. If we lose here, the Dominion will rebuild and crush every species that dared to dream of freedom." The Liberation Council's fleet had grown beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. 5,000 ships from 47 different species floated in formation, each crew representing the hopes of their entire world. Humans worked alongside Zephyrians, Delphinians commanded vessels crewed by former enemies, and species that had never met before the war now fought as brothers and sisters. Captain Ryan Clark led the fighter squadrons, now numbering in the thousands. His pilots came from dozens of worlds, but they all shared the same determination to end the Dominion's reign of fear. "All squadrons, remember what we're fighting for," he broadcasted. "Not conquest, not revenge, but the right of every thinking being to choose their own destiny." Dr. Lisa Park had spent the journey to Nexus working on the most important weapon in the fleet's arsenal. Not a gun or a missile, but a message. She had prepared a broadcast in every known language that would be transmitted to every world in the galaxy simultaneously. It was humanity's gift to the universe, an invitation to join something better than empire. President Kate Sullivan, now elected Chancellor of the Liberation Council, reviewed her speech one final time. In a few hours, she would either be addressing a free galaxy or recording her final words before the Liberation was destroyed. "Tony," she said to Chief Engineer Blake, "are the transmitters ready?" "Yes, ma'am," Tony replied. "Every ship in the fleet is equipped with quantum communicators. When we broadcast, every inhabited world in the galaxy will hear us instantly." The battle began at dawn, Nexus prime time. The Liberation fleet advanced in waves, each group attacking different sections of the massive defense grid. The Dominion's response was immediate and overwhelming. Energy beams that could melt asteroids lanced out from the defense stations, destroying Liberation ships by the dozens. But the Liberation forces didn't fight like the Dominion expected. Instead of neat formations and predictable tactics, they moved like a living organism. When one group was threatened, others moved to support them. When weaknesses appeared in the enemy lines, ships from across the fleet converged to exploit them. High Arbiter Vex Thule, now Supreme Commander of all Dominion forces, watched the battle from his flagship and felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Not of death, but of change. These humans and their allies were not trying to replace the Dominion with another empire. They were trying to create something that had never existed, a galaxy where cooperation replaced domination. "Sir," reported his tactical officer, "the enemy is breaking through Sector 7. Should we redirect forces?" Vexthul studied the tactical display. The Liberation fleet was everywhere at once, striking from all directions with a coordination that should have been impossible. How are they managing such precise timing across thousands of ships? The answer came from Captain Susan Wright, who had infiltrated the Dominion command structure months earlier. Her intelligence network had been feeding the Liberation fleet real-time information about enemy positions and plans. But more than that, humans had taught their alien allies something the Dominion had forgotten. Trust. Admiral Ben Rodriguez led the assault on the main defense ring, his ships diving through walls of enemy fire to reach the massive battle stations. Each station was a fortress that could withstand the combined fire of 100 ships, but the Liberation forces had learned to fight smarter, not harder. "Use the Delphinian trick," Ben ordered his captains. The aquatic aliens had taught humans how to make their ships work together like schools of fish, moving in perfect harmony to confuse and overwhelm enemies. The breakthrough came when Colonel Janet Price led ground forces in a desperate assault on the command station, controlling the defense grid. Her mixed-species Marines fought through corridors filled with automated defenses and Dominion soldiers who had never known defeat. "For every world that dreamed of freedom," Janet shouted as her forces reached the control room. "For every being who dared to hope for something better." The defense grid shut down section by section as Janet's team captured control nodes. Without their protective umbrella, the Dominion fleet was forced to face the Liberation forces in open battle. The space around Nexus Prime became a whirlwind of energy and metal. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes while others danced between the debris, seeking targets and avoiding death. The battle raged for 18 hours, with neither side able to claim decisive victory. Then Dr. Lisa Park activated her secret weapon. The broadcast began on every frequency and every language. reaching every inhabited world in the galaxy simultaneously. People of the galaxy. Chancellor Kate Sullivan's voice carried across the stars. For 10,000 years you have been told that some species are meant to rule, while others are meant to serve. You have been told that unity means submission, and that peace requires fear. Today we offer you a different choice. The broadcast continued for 10 minutes, but its message was simple. Every thinking being deserved the right to choose their own government, to speak their own mind, and to reach for their own dreams. The Liberation Council invited every species to join them as equals in building something new. The effect was immediate and devastating to Dominion morale. Across the galaxy, Dominion worlds began declaring independence. Communication networks that had carried orders for millennia now carried messages of freedom. Species that had served the Empire faithfully for generations suddenly remembered what it felt like to hope. On Nexus Prime itself, massive protests erupted as billions of beings who had lived under Dominion rule their entire lives learned that there was an alternative. The Empire's own capital world was in revolt. High Arbiter Vexthal watched his empire crumble in real time and made a decision that shocked his officers. He opened a communication channel to Admiral Jake Morrison. "Human Commander," he said, his ancient voice heavy with the weight of history. "I request terms of surrender." Jake was equally surprised. He had expected the Dominion to fight to the last ship. "What terms do you seek?" "Amnesty for my people," Vexthal replied. "We have ruled through fear for so long we have forgotten any other way. If you truly offer equality to all species, then include us as well." The fighting stopped slowly as news of the surrender spread. Ships that had been trying to kill each other minutes before now floated side by side in the wreckage-strewn space around Nexus Prime. The war was over, but the real work was just beginning. Chancellor Kate Sullivan arrived at Nexus Prime 3 days later aboard the UES Hope, the ship that would serve as the temporary capital of the new galactic government. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered in the great assembly hall that had once been the seat of absolute power. "We are not here to punish the past," Kate said in her inaugural address as the first president of the Galactic Republic. "We are here to build a future where every world, every species, every individual has a voice in their own destiny." The Constitution they wrote became known as the Charter of Worlds. It guaranteed rights that had never existed on a galactic scale: freedom of speech, freedom of movement between worlds, freedom of trade and culture, and most importantly, freedom from fear. Tony Blake led the effort to share technology freely among all member species. The advances that followed amazed even the humans who had started the revolution. When beings from different worlds worked together as equals, they achieved things that none could have accomplished alone. Dr. Lisa Park became the first director of the Galactic Science Council, coordinating research projects that included scientists from every known species. The discoveries they made in the first year alone advanced galactic civilization by centuries. Admiral Jake Morrison retired from military service to become an explorer again, leading expeditions to find new worlds and new species to invite into the growing republic. Every first contact mission carried the same message: you are not alone and you have a choice. The galaxy that had once echoed with the sounds of conquest and oppression grew quiet in a different way. It was the silence of beings who no longer lived in fear, who could speak their minds without wondering if secret police were listening, who could dream of tomorrow without worrying about survival. High Arbiter Vexthal, now simply a citizen of the Republic, wrote in his memoirs, "The humans gave us something we had lost so long ago we had forgotten it ever existed. They gave us hope. Not hope for conquest or dominance, but hope that thinking beings could choose to be better than their worst impulses." Years passed. The Galactic Republic grew to include over 1,000 worlds. Trade flourished between species that had never met. Art and music and literature flowed freely across the stars.